right, go ahead, Liam. We're live.
Hello, hello, hello. All right.
Hello.
All right, we'll get this underway. We have Dean just loading in as well with J-Rod here, who will be playing. And I'll be somewhat hosting, running the AMA. And I've got a bunch of great team members coming in to join us. Got a bunch of questions already laid out, which are looking really, really good to cover some of the topics I know you guys have been asking about for quite a few weeks now. And also, if you'd like another question to be asked or something to chat about, please drop it in Discord in the lobby or here in Twitch chat. We won't be able to answer everything. We don't have all the time in the world, but we'll try to cover as much as we can and try not to repeat ourselves in any topics. So thank you all for joining. I hope you're all enjoying Styx. I know it's been a pretty busy weekend. The game's out. We've heard some really, really good things from the new update. Seen some really, really cool clips. Here people are loving the Kias, even though they're pests and making your lives hard. Evan's enjoying the new space. So, thank you so much for all jumping in and getting involved. Welcome along, J-Rod and Dean.
Are we starting a new character, J-Rod?
Yeah, starting new characters. I had to
think
delete
that's gotta be the
mine.
rule.
First question, hard or medium or easy?
Are you really asking that question?
Okay, done.
Just casual, J. Is this the new casual, J-Rod?
I went with hard.
Good.
All right, while you guys get set up, I will go and summon our first two guests for the day, which is two of our game designers, Adam and Sean.
How's that work?
So you guys can jab along and play. I'll bring Adam and Sean in to chat and answer some questions, but you guys are obviously welcome to chime in as well with any thoughts on any of them as well. And we'll
I'll
do.
probably mute you though. It's
No, fair
really
enough.
hard to play the game and try and.
No, very fair. My voice is a drone versus soothing, so I completely relate and
But
understand.
you guys. I don't know. How should we do that, J-Rod? Should we just mute Dean?
You just mute them.
No
But
stress.
then they won't be able to ask us questions.
Turn his volume
They
down.
could send them in a written. They could send them in a written. They could write us a letter.
Write you a letter.
Snail mail.
Tell you what, if I've got a question I think you might like, I'll drop a line to you as well. You're welcome to unmute me for a brief period.
See if you can join my session, Dean.
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
Right, while you guys get on surface, I'll get them loaded in.
Oh, there's a wolf already. I'm running.
Nice.
Great start. Really what we needed.
I'm just gonna be dying here.
This has gone very well to start. We already have lost our first our first teammate, but don't worry, Rocket is here too.
Do not go to
Save the
your
day.
right. or go to your right and die. That's up to you. Oh, you should come res me.
Will do. I'm just setting my.
All right, well, these two figure out what they're up to. Start dropping some questions in chat.
Oh,
so
I'm just gonna respawn.
The first two guys we've got jumping in, Adam and Sean, they are two of our game designers. So any question you've got related to game design, that could be to do with missions. It could be to do with some of the processes and infrastructure we have in the game. It could be how the game runs and plays. Anything in that space, that is your go-to topics to cover. So drop some messages in Twitch or in the lobby
Yeah,
channel in
which
Discord.
thing do you talk through?
What do you mean?
You're coming through. Liam's coming through your Discord.
Mike, because he's really loud.
I'll be quiet, guys. This is not
Howdy, all.
This is not an ASMR stream. Hello, Adam. Welcome to the stream.
Oh, thank you.
I can't. Yeah, I can't mute.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Right. We'll just wait for. Oh, it's Sean as well. So we've got Sean and Adam here. So to have our game design. So before we actually get into it, Adam and Sean, do you just want to give a quick background on what you do for the team and what you've really enjoyed about Styx?
Oh yeah, Adam, design lead on Icarus. Been at Rockworks for it's over 2 years now. Yeah, it's gone pretty good. It's Oh, sorry, this music is playing over the top of me. Just joining into the game now. Sorry, what was the question? What do I enjoy about Styx?
Yeah, what do you enjoy about making it, getting involved in it? What have you done on it?
It's just been really cool to see just a whole new environment come together. So we had a first couple of test maps that we were making at the start of the project, and then we eventually ended up with what became Olympus map, and we've been playing on that for quite a while now. So it's it's kind of like getting to re-explore the game again from the start with playing on a new map like Styx.
Love it. Awesome to hear. And Sean, a little bit of an intro about yourself and what you've been up to on Styx and what you love about it.
Hello. Sean. I started as an artist, the first artist on the project. Kind of now in the design team, I'd say pretty heavily. I guess Styx is just nice to see. Just a bunch of the lessons learned applied in kind of big broad strokes, and just a nice kind of step forward from what was a good kind of proving ground in Olympus, just to see where we can go from here.
Love that. No, awesome to hear, guys. So I'll jump into some of the questions we do have for you guys around what we've got from game design, and then I'll also pull some questions out of Discord and Twitch as well for you. So we've got some ones to topic. But the first one I've got here is actually quite a cool one. So when deciding the look and feel of something, say a new armor or a new bench, how do you decide on the balance of kind of grit, tech, realism, and fantasy? Is it some kind of round table discussion, or do we just submit concept to make a decision? So I guess what's the process, and how do you decide all the elements of what goes into those new features?
I'd say that sounds very much like an art question. I'll pass that one over to Sean.
I guess, kind of key is being that roundtable discussion. So a lot of the stuff that kind of comes through concept, or even updates through the modeling stage, we kind of all weigh in, I guess. Everyone kind of considering different elements. The design team is a pretty cool little amalgamation of different talents. So it's just, definitely like a kind of group. Unless someone has like a very strong opinion, that they can vouch for or kind of stake claim in, then it's definitely like a unanimous decision that we kind of all look at, I guess, different parts of the project. Does it fit in with aesthetic? Does it fit its function? And all that jazz.
Cool. So I guess that kind of plays into a lot of the features we put in, because I know that a common discussion has been around how do you balance realism with obviously enjoying the playstyle, enjoying the game, and not having realism somewhat drain away from the experience. So obviously that comes up a lot in a lot of decisions we make. So what is kind of, I guess, the team's thought process around finding a nice balance between the game not being ridiculous, but also still having that layer of fun, so you're not having to focus on every single element you'd actually have to focus on as a human being in real life?
I guess for me, it's definitely been a learning curve to kind of be able to steer away from realism a bit. When it comes down to gameplay versus realism, gameplay always wins. So we often come up with an idea, and what's the realistic approach to it, and then what are the negatives from that realistic approach versus what are the positives from doing things a little differently. so yeah, and we try and find ourselves in a middle ground, but yeah.
Cool. No, that's really good. And I know that that can be a difficult balance sometimes. And I know that people at times can have, they prefer one or the other. So I think it is quite kind of important to understand how we obviously have to make those decisions. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the biggest thing about a game is it's fun. And there's elements of real life that I promise you that no one enjoys. So if we were to be that detailed, there's an element of taking away from that.
It's like making a go-to-work simulator.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to play that.
I don't think you guys will want to wait for the bus every morning in the rain. Like, we can put it in, but you'll probably hate us. So, all right, we'll jump on to the next one, which is one that I know has been something that the team has been talking about internally, which is around rebalancing things. So, will we see a rebalance of some items? So they've seemed a little bit useless in the, I guess, scale of things, such as the pistol. Is there a plan for more rebalancing around existing pieces, or if not, is there a reason why certain items may not feel like they serve a purpose, but actually have a different kind of value payoff?
That one, John?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I mean, it is as seen by just the the weekly kind of cadence update. We definitely try and consider holistically as much as we can. I'd say balance would definitely come with kind of purpose. So if we don't see things kind of sitting their intended purpose, or finding someone uses some stuff in some cool creative ways, maybe leaning into that and trying to leverage that. So there's definitely a couple things on our radar that we are 100% aware about, but that kind of just changing on a whim it might have a few more knock-on effects. So the example you gave, the pistol, at the moment does fit like a little niche of like an easier access firearm, but upping the damage, or there's sure like minor tweaks we can kind of do on everything, which is a rabbit hole that kind of starts to spiral the more you get into it. So I guess looking at maybe the whole guns as a blanket, and then looking at their fit compared to other animals, other creatures, but again kind of comes with that purpose. So if the majority of the stuff isn't kind of broken, maybe don't touch a tiny little minutia unless it's a very, very kind of easy gain, and then reevaluate as different parts of the project come in. So things like the Scorpion boss, how does he play with guns? Okay, if guns aren't good enough to tackle him, then like does he need to change, or do guns need to change? As a crude example. But
cool. Actually,
yes, short answer, balancing, ongoing, 100%.
Actually, you kind of raised another question in there with one of your points, which is around, if we see a creative way a certain item or feature is used, that, we may look down that path. Have we had any situations where we've seen or put something in game and gone, oh, heck, this is used in a completely different way than we expected, or there's something here that we hadn't predicted, so let's explore that and see how we can obviously build that out and develop it. Have we seen anything in particular like that, or is it something that we can't say we have done yet, but we've got a few on our radar?
I'd say
good question.
One creative example is kind of leaving in the fact that people are kind of hand making some little lightning rods by building structures high up, not necessarily like unintended, as we did say cool, look for structures high up to strike with lightning, but little things like that I guess are not necessarily intended features, but that are kind of gameplay centric things. Another one actually being kind of bear jousting, which wasn't an intended straight up implementation, but people kind of learnt behavior around it, and we actually fixed it, which then made bears not kind of as fun to play. So then we kind of purposefully put it back in just because it actually did fit that play style, and get all that the kind of fun combat kind of mechanic back in.
Yeah, because that kind of speaks to as well with obviously game design, the balance between how something is intended and how something is experienced. So are you finding as obviously we move through all these months of Icarus and now with Styx that we're learning more and more and more about the game actually in the hands of players with thousands of hours and going, okay, we can see things molding and developing here, and that how much does that influence how you guys take the game forward? Is there a specific balance, or does it kind of ebb and flow with this is the direction we're taking it, but this is how players are playing it? Is it an ongoing kind of movement?
Yeah, I think obviously, if we find players are making use of a mechanic that we thought, oh, this will be great for A, but they're actually using it for B, then and if that doesn't have any massive repercussions, then we'll absolutely lean into that kind of stuff. It's very much a live service game. We're taking on board feedback and seeing how players are playing the game and kind of molding it to suit that as well.
Awesome. I guess one more point, just slightly on here, which is a bit off to the side.
Oh, that's a death.
Oh, we've lost someone.
Oh, nope, still alive.
One thing we obviously talked about there was the pistol being an example of an item that people felt was possibly a little bit useless at the moment. On the topic of guns, is there plans obviously for guns to be something that comes to the workshop? Do we have more expansion in firearms coming forward? Or do we feel that there is a reason why we haven't necessarily gone down that path with firearms yet?
Hey, I need a rescue.
Yeah, I mean, firearms is a tricky one because, in order to make firearms not completely OP, you need to have bigger creatures, and bigger creatures have their own set of challenges. But players that were around on Beta Weekend 1, they'll know that the creature scope is quite different, and it's constantly expanding and evolving, and with that we get bigger creatures, and bigger creatures need bigger guns. So it's definitely something we want to lean into. I know that the oh god, ow, yep, no, I slipped.
Well,
you look like you're standing up, J-Rod.
Yeah, I just have
R.I.P.
a
Adam.
broken bone.
He is gone, but not
And I'm
forgotten.
over encumbered because of it.
Okay.
But yeah, just to kind of tack on Adam, it's again just about if we hit that kind of ceiling too fast, we give the players a rocket launcher straight away. It's like, kind of you have to keep one-upping yourself. So I think it's just about taking those measured steps slowly. Just about not kind of leaping off a cliff per se, as Adam nicely
So to speak.
personified in the play.
Yeah.
But just kind of taking those measured steps.
Yeah.
A good example is the lever action, right? So we started, that was one of the first guns, or it might have been the first gun we had in the game, and it was a 5 or 6 shot semi-automatic, real quick to put bullets down range, and it was just overpowered because at the time I think we might have had the bear. It was as the biggest challenge, and it was just mowing everything. So then we need something that fires a bit slower, which became the bolt action rifle. So players early on might have remembered seeing the lever action rifle switch places with the bolt action because it became a higher tier weapon.
Got you.
So if I'm a little confused, then other people probably are. Where is this the AMA segment?
Yeah, so we'll obviously just do some questions with some of the team over the top where you guys jam, but you're obviously also welcome to jump in and ask.
Where should people post the questions?
So if you'd like to ask a question, best place is hashtag lobby in Discord or just in Twitch chat, and I'll be pulling a few out of there, but we also had a few of our mods go out the last couple of weeks and grab a few from the community and organise them. So we've got some questions we already had, but we'll obviously pick up some new ones about Styx, seeing as it's now been out 3 days. So drop them in Twitch or lobby in Discord.
And I'm sure I speak from everyone who frequents AMAs. The important thing about an AMA is not to pick the questions that necessarily always that we'd like, because the worst thing about an AMA is when it's just a bunch of you know, like when they do the movie ones and the actors are just like, yeah, it was my greatest project ever. So,
Yep.
like,
No, for sure. And I guess the next question will be exactly one that everyone wants, which is around transportation. So, is there going to be any kind of transportation, even in the short term, like a mount or even a carriage to transport you more than you can lift as your character, so to give you that extra carry opportunity? So, I guess what is the vision for transportation? What are we thinking, guys?
well, I think people should probably on the transportation front read the blog post.
Yeah.
Because we outlined there. Basically, we still have a lot of homework to do with the game. I think. Yeah. Well, that's the key thing is we've kind of been doing our homework with the game through the last 25 weeks. Styx is kind of a culmination of that, and yeah, I mean we did a milestone. Data miners have found some of the work we did on vehicles early on. Yeah, it's something everybody wants to do. I don't know, what were your thoughts, Adam, Sean?
Yep, no, you definitely summed it up. As I said, just reading that Steam kind of post really nicely encapsulates it. It's just about you very readily run the risk of destroying a lot of content by taking that step too early. You know, just carefully kind of mapped out map. We've got some cool biomes, cool vistas. I think, you know, blowing by a whole bunch of that in a vehicle. Not to mention the conversation around nicely navigating a vehicle around things like the forest and areas like that will, I think, cause a lot more problems than they'll just solve by being able to move fast. So definitely on, you know, the radar. Do a lot of conversation around it. Do a lot of planning and
Adam,
you know,
come
how
save
could
me.
we make this work? But for the most part, it's I think, as Dean said, you know, learning the lessons on things like our environments and being able to implement that in something as large scale as Styx is like a nice big step forward just in the general project. And vehicles definitely talked about, but I wouldn't say coming very soon.
Yes.
Cool. I guess actually now just watching J-Rod slide to his death again, one people might be interested in is what type of vehicles we're thinking about, because there's obviously
Alright, this
been
is our
talk
base
about
spot.
hand-pulled carts for more carry weight. Someone's actually just mentioned in chat will be a glider for some of those near-death situations, or are we thinking motorized? So what I guess has been discussed or looked at?
I mean, now that we have the Kia bird in the game, we need wingsuits, right?
I think there's a
Green
lot of
wingsuits.
situations of value for those, as we have seen in the last 10 minutes.
Oh, is this where we put in game requests?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see, obviously, the direction we take vehicles, how we play them out, but to obviously hear a bit about, you know, what goes into that decision. And I guess an interesting point as well is around, you know, when we consider an item and how we add it, how many different, just how many different things can get affected by that decision, and what do we have to consider when making those decisions? So I guess what's the process internally when it comes to that? We've spoken a bit about obviously thinking about how we discuss balancing items, but is there the same kind of discussion internally around how do we add something without creating, you know, an apocalypse?
Yeah, I mean, it's very much. I think Sean touched on it earlier. Was it's very much a collaborative effort. You know, we all enjoy different parts of the game, and we've all kind of put, we've all kind of had our hands on different systems in the game. So, you know, we each bring different kind of viewpoints and perspectives on, you know, if we add item X, how is that going to affect A, B, and C, you know, and you know, through a lot of back and forth and making sure it fits in the game, fits in the theme, fits visually, fits, you know, the lore, all that kind of stuff. There's definitely been some items that have tried to sneak in and kind of get past those, and yeah, we've caught them and changed them up, or, you know, just made sure that everything kind of is cohesive.
Awesome. I got a cool question here, just coming in from the community around some of the reward systems. So, Styx's prospect rewards are pretty similar in count as some of the later Olympus missions, but some of the missions are harder. And the example given here was Alcazar. Any plans on a holistic rebalance of some of the rewards? So, some of like the farming missions obviously are quite tough. And is there a plan to obviously always looking at balancing rewards and I guess currencies and whatnot alongside items?
With that one, Sean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, same with everything. Live service game. As soon as we kind of move the bar or see that something requires a new tier or a new, we're throwing around ideas of the or different implementation ideas, I should say, of like the different reward types, kind of moving forward. So again, live service game definitely, as we see an outlier or see something egregiously offending our beautiful designer minds, definitely expect things to be changed, but not without kind of a lot of discussion, as with anything, item balance or all that jazz. Definitely carefully considered. But as with rewards, as with everything else in the game, there's so many kind of avenues and aspects to consider with like an open world live service game, I guess. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. We'll jump into one here around, obviously, the map and the environment. So will we see changes to Icarus, I guess, Olympus and Styx in the existing environments over time as well? Or are those going to be more permanent with obviously more changes applied to missions and creatures and items and whatnot? We've got a successful kill over here.
I heard it. Sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, so we're looking at obviously the Icarus environment. Are we expecting to see changes to those?
The environment.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think Styx is still fresh. There's been a lot of obviously testing leading up to its launch. We're still finding new areas, like as not as world builders, but as the designers. We're still finding all these cool areas that has been built, and so we're like exploring how missions will go in those areas. We might need to move some impassable cliffs here and there to make room for things, but I mean the world that we kind of get given as designers is massive, and there's so much opportunity that that hasn't really needed to happen. But
I would say, like, for the most part, what's cool about Styx is, again, kind of one of those I guess lesson learn type implementations. Is the base set of missions does fundamentally change the way you navigate the map by unblocking those like shortcuts. So I guess that's kind of like a step in that direction of like permanently affecting and kind of changing your environment. Definitely had precursory conversations around events and all that jazz. I guess it's just been about not again taking on too much too quickly without looking at the knock-on effects and stuff, because again, once you've kind of made that change, it's harder to retcon at that point.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that that idea of obviously really considering all the elements of change, it can be hard to understand at times too. That there's a lot of thought process that goes into every change, because the impacts are compounding. It's almost a ripple effect. Things don't just have one small impact, and undoing something is always harder than doing it in the first place. I think we've learned that too.
Even looking at the fact that it's a live service game, making a change and say half of the player base is on that one prospect in that one spot, and you say, cool, there's a big asteroid that lands and creates a mountain on the spot, and you end up covering half the player bases already set up nice bases.
Yeah. And that's all cool learning experience too. And I think the live service game area, that's been, I guess, something for us that's been really fun to experiment with. So I guess for you guys, what's been the coolest thing about doing the live service space, and what's been the hardest?
For me, definitely just the direct community feedback. The mod testers, sorry, the mods, and the level of testing that they do on the experimental branches, and just everyone getting involved there. Like even preparing spreadsheets with links to feature upvote and all that kind of stuff. Like feature upvote's been a massive thing for us as well. Just being able to see at a glance what the biggest issues are, averaged out by the community. That's been that direct feedback and constant feedback, really.
Yeah, shout out to the experimental branch team and all the other people in Discord and across feature upvote who've helped. Like, you guys probably will never realize how awesome it is to get that, and the level you've gone above and beyond. The spreadsheets is a great example, and stuff like that just makes us go, oh heck, these people are pretty on to it. So big thanks to you all for that. We got a cool one here from Shangpo and the Icarus server. Is any word on skill caps or being able to reset skills? So I guess more of a broad topic around skill caps. Are we looking to obviously at any point increase levels, increase more skills, more unlockable items? I know we've got a lot of veteran players now in the team who have got an absolute mountain worth of points and blueprint unlocks. So what's the plan to obviously extend that and build that out, or to provide more opportunity for those points to be spent?
Tricky one. I guess, again, first step in that direction is providing the kind of single respec option, just to kind of diversify based on that kind of one player mentality. If you're going to ride out that one player across the game, being able to respec into some new points that maybe get added to the tree. Also, I would say it's a hard one to address holistically, to say, there's this massive long-term plan to fully address every aspect of your character progression and all that. It's again one of the kind of ongoing things that we evaluate at different stages. If there's a big piece of tech that goes in, say we add a new whole system to the game that requires its own entire branch of the talent tree, its own category, then it's like, how do we incentivize current players to invest in that? How do we enable them without starting a new character? Do we want a new character every time to have to engage with those big systems? It's again ongoing conversational meetings, and how it plays with the game as a whole, and how and then again readdressing once the player feedback comes in.
There's two of them.
How it did land, how it did stick, how it's being engaged with.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. That's really, really good. And again, I think it's another area too. You're going to have players who are unbelievably good at this game and are going to max it out. Players on the other end of the spectrum too who are more than happy with, earning a few points here and there and being able to do some stuff with it. So I guess there's also that idea that we'll always try to do as much as we can for every type of player. But you're working with such a diverse player base that at times it is obviously being able to account for both.
Absolutely, yeah. And not only that, being able, creating a game that scales from 1 player to 8 players on top of that. Absolutely challenging. But we're looking for those wins where we can say, this will work in a multiple of scenarios. This will work for veterans, this will work for casuals. This will work for 1 player, this will work for 8. Very, very unlikely that happens. But with the changes that we've done to the difficulty system have given us opportunity to revisit that quite a bit. Mission difficulty and so on. When we spawn a boss creature for a mission, we look up how many people are playing at the time, and we buff their health or that kind of thing. So it is very much an ongoing thing to kind of expand on as we go.
Cool. That's really, really good. I can see this one coming up all the time in Twitch chat, so I'm not going to ignore them, which is fishing. What is the plan with fishing? Everyone wants to get out there and do their best fishing job. They all want to be on Discovery Channel. Tell us what's going on, team.
Oh, fishing.
It's something near and dear to my heart. I love fishing in real life. And I guess it's one of those ones that we don't want to half-bake just for the sake of having the mechanic in. So, it might even fall into one of those cool bigger system categories. First stage might be something like we had a quite early implementation of fishing traps, which are quite a nice little passive thing that worked. So, it might be exploring now that we have deployable traps in other areas, kind of bringing that system back as a start. But yeah, just about not kind of half baking something just for the sake of ticking that box.
Fireplace away from me.
Cool.
Sorry.
Sorry, Sean. He's just making me mad.
Actually, I just obviously saw something on screen that wanted to raise a question some people have talked about, which is around debuffs. I just noticed a new one there, the Komodo bite. Debuffs are an interesting one. We're obviously really putting in a lot of more risk-reward factors with a lot of actions in game. What goes into those decisions, and how do we obviously make them unique enough that there is always something different about every type of every type of debuff, every type of buff, and how does that balancing system work?
Can I say that I'm really stoked with the implementation that we did of the Komodo's behavior.
Yeah.
Just the fact that you can pretty much walk straight up to it and it just casually ignores you. But if there's food around and you're near its food, it will just go skits. So I mean, I think that's just really cool that we've kind of and that leans into, I guess, part of its balancing too. If you need to make a decision where do you need that food more than the Komodo does? If so, you risk a pretty gnarly bite and infection. Do you
Tell
have
me
the
more
equipment?
about that.
You mean bit?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So do you have the equipment to cure it?
No.
Yeah.
Love that.
Playing on 6 on a new character, yes.
Yep.
I've got a good question here from Odin Wright in Twitch. I see you put it in Discord too, which is, what's your ultimate goal for the size of the map? And is there any plans to upgrade to Unreal 5 at any point? The Unreal 5 one might be a better question to jump to Dylan later, but do you want to, I guess, chat to the plan for the size of the map?
Sean, did you want to talk to the changes that we did to the mission layout for Styx in comparison to Olympus?
Yeah, so I guess just overall blanket answer to goal for size of map. I guess just as big as feels good. There's no point in doing this huge 64 by 64 kilometer map without vehicles. There's no kind of straight answer to that. So I guess just map size, whatever we feels good. It gives us enough kind of room to work with. For the missions, as Adam said, Olympus was like our first implementation, and so again, learning lessons. It was quite a linear experience. We took you from one of the forests into a couple of the biomes, into the next forest, into a couple of the other biomes, and kind of tiered the missions as they went. Styx is going to be definitely a more kind of open approach, where you kind of take your path. Again, comes with some caveats of missions not necessarily tiered to start here, end here, but a kind of cooler player-driven experience. I feel being able to kind of navigate and choose the areas you want to open up first and tackle.
Awesome.
Definitely something we wanted to explore too with Styx was that we felt like we cut off access to biomes in a lot of the missions, and when we wanted to make special items, so for example, squash got moved to the desert only, and then we had missions that didn't give you access to the desert. So we kind of felt that with that approach, it was limiting kind of the gameplay that we were creating. So it was definitely nice to kind of take a different approach with Styx, and we're not using those boundary limitations and stuff. We're using the world more naturally to do that kind of progression.
Yeah, cool. I've got a good one here that's coming from Testudo. I did see it on Twitch, sorry I didn't get to it earlier, but thanks for putting it again in Discord, which is, will you guys be reducing the mission timer's length? So some people are feeling that they're a bit too long and don't really pose a threat as they might be intending. Or I guess, what is the ideas now behind mission timer? We obviously made a change recently to how those work. That was one of our big updates a few weeks back. So I guess, do we have any more plans to reduce those, to increase the threat level, or how do we plan on working with them in the future?
Yeah, so that mission timer change obviously has a massive impact on this. We're going from, I guess that's one of the reasons why the missions were so long, is because we had to account for people who couldn't play it every day, and so we had to make them week long, and then some were a month long. So they didn't necessarily suit the mission as much as it did average player play times. So I think we'll definitely see a shift in that as we kind of move forward. A tricky thing with doing changes on a live service game is, if we chop those timers, then what kind of happens to those existing prospects, and player expectations, So yeah, I think it'll be a soft, ongoing change that we do.
Cool. I love that. Cool. I'll jump into this one here, which is, I know, another one that people have been asking for a while, and I saw a lot more chatting about it now that we've brought the keys out, which is, will there be tameable animals to ride in the future, or to have as pets, or to use as buddies? I guess, are we looking to do more with animals than just have them as, prey or predators?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's definitely been a conversation that we've had. Animal husbandry would be definitely like a cool addition. I guess it's just more about
Oh, that was not good.
like the implications and the how it works with our system, our capabilities as a studio, and what we kind of devote time to. So it's definitely, again, on the discussion table. Some of the games have done it quite simply. Valheim's got a very, very simple kind of taming mechanic that would be like maybe a nice like parallel to look at as a stepping stone. So yeah, again, it's just about continuing that conversation and seeing what we can.
I guess even in the chat can have some peace of mind that it is something we've talked about and considered, and we have heard you, and we like the idea too. A lot of the stuff that you guys talk about, we really like it as well. And for us, a lot of the time, like you've heard, a lot of decision making goes into how do we do this so it's cool and not absolutely game breaking. So I think all of us would love to have a Kia as a pet. I think that is a across the team feeling. So you can rest easy on that one.
Shoulder-mounted pets. Yes.
Exactly. It would be awesome. I really just want a Kia to land on my arm and I could send it out to get me dinner. That would just be the dream. So put that one down. I've got one here which I guess I'll just cover off because I know a lot of people may still be a bit in the dark about it, but has been answered for a while, which is around when players are going to start seeing alien flora and fauna in the game. So I can kind of speak to, I guess, the plan, but Adam and Sean, I'll get you guys to jump in too and I guess chat about the direction we're going there. Obviously, Icarus first cohort is really players landing on the areas of the planet that actually probably had the best response to the terraforming, therefore are the most Earth-like, even with their own differences, such as obviously some creatures that have proven to be a bit more alien, such as the sandworm, but also the oxygen and climate not being quite exactly the same and the more volatile weather. But as we explore into new frontiers and dangerous horizons, we're really venturing outside of what feels almost like some familiarity and safety into more alien and dangerous territories. So more of that alien flora and fauna that you've really been championing at the bit for, that's really going to come as we expand into the first two DLCs. So I guess speaking to the DLCs, in the most recent post we talked to the, I guess, timelines and plans for when those are coming. I guess, Adam and Sean, how are you guys feeling about the direction there, and are you excited? What's the overall sentiment you've got about New Frontiers?
I mean, I'm pretty stoked because, again, like the similar feeling that we had with Styx, getting to explore the game again from those early stages. I think we're going to see a lot of that again in the DLC. It's not going to be. I don't want to hype it up too much, but it's not going to be a small thing. I think we're definitely got a lot of plans, a lot of discussions in the works. I don't know how much, or if any detail we can go into.
That's cool. No, I mean, even just to hear, obviously, some excitement in the team about the direction we're taking is awesome. I guess a cool one here, and this goes to, we've obviously had a lot more food source variations. I really enjoyed jumping in the other day, just having all these plants and different options for growing that out. A question, again, people have been asking for ages is around different beverages. I had a lovely one I got earlier in the week. What about sake and whiskey? We've obviously got a lot more plants now that have a lot more options to turn them into different drinks. Do we have obviously different options? We've obviously had beer and other options and whatnot. Do we have plans for doing more around beverages? And I know a lot of people are always asking about their favourite Friday 5 p.m. drink. I guess, is there any plans around what we're doing in that space?
I think we need to do some kind of some poll to get everyone's votes in. and
Yeah.
we'll get them all in.
I think that's a great idea. We might have to start getting a bit more inquisitive. What are you guys' favourite drinks? What are your favourite foods? If it's possible. I don't think we can do a fully cooked lasagna, unfortunately. Might take a few too many ingredients. But hey, if you've got something you'd quite like to see in game, you never know. I mean, I'm a real big fan of the fact we have coffee plants now, because I'm pretty sure I'm 40% coffee bean at this point. So that was a great addition.
I mean, I want to see chicken schnitzels in the game.
Outstanding.
I think we can call the game done at that point.
Yep, I've got one here for cactus apples. Don't even know what cactus apples are, but that does sound really delicious. All
I
right.
don't think I haven't heard of cactus apple. No.
Cool. We'll jump into this one here. Will there be better guns or a more complex gun system to make them more viable versus bows? I guess we spoke a little bit to it earlier around that system, but I guess this plays into the bigger question around tech and whatnot. Is there, do we have some cool ideas? What is the plan for obviously expanding out in that space? I know that people have really enjoyed a lot of the really unique items we've added, and the bows have been a big hit. So is there obviously planned for other weaponry to be expanded upon and built?
I will say that we've got a bunch of Larkwell arrows coming in, and they have some specialization on them. So I think that's I mean they've proven to be pretty awesome in combat in the internal testing. So it definitely adds some flavor. And yeah, as Sean said earlier, it's tricky to add weapons without causing damage to the gameplay balance. So it's definitely something that we take measured approaches to make sure a solo player can't just defeat the boss that's designed for 8 people because they've got one gun, or if they can, it's very limited use. So and that's where I guess the workshop items come in. We can kind of have a handle on how powerful they are for how long. So yeah, there's been a lot of discussion and a lot of discussion on what we can do in the future for sure.
Awesome.
So I was thinking, guys, we should probably move the AMA to a separate day and do it on Reddit, because it's more of a Q&A, and then we can sort of keep the questions lighter and keep them flowing.
Yeah, for sure. We'll keep jumping through some of the fun questions and
just
whatnot.
for everyone watching, just because I think it's going to be really hard for people to go through and follow really specific stuff and things like that. So I think what we'll do is we'll schedule, we'll work with the Reddit community and take some of the questions and put them in there. I think that way that people can follow it, and then just keep this more as a light Q&A.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, for sure. So if you guys have got some fun questions you want to ask the team, we've got a little bit more time with Adam and Sean.
Questions, but yeah, I think it's just the AMA format. I think people will want to dive in through the detailed stuff, and I think people will want to see it written, and I think it'll be hard for us to go through and write all this up, because definitely some of the more complicated answers, we have to go away and talk with, say, our tech team and stuff like that to confirm bits and pieces. We don't want to sort of off the cuff promise something live on here. So I think we'll try and split some of the stuff into 2 parts. So some people might have some questions, and we'll deal with those more in the AMA. Now we'll try and answer the things that we can that'll be simple. Yep. Mhm.
Oh, I hear Cougar.
Cool. All right. I'll do one here I quite like from the Twitch chat, which is Adam and Sean. What are your favourite items or features that you guys have had the pleasure of adding? I heard a few of the cool ones you liked earlier, but do you have a particular favourite or one or two that you've actually just loved adding to the game, and what you've seen to kind of be something that you've gone, man, I'm stoked about that one?
What you got, Sean? Is it going to be the oxidizer?
I'd say probably one of my favourite ones that we got in there so nice was your little scorpion pincer trap.
Oh, yep.
It's got like a nice little cool just amalgamation of the creatures coming in using a bespoke little resource from that creature, and then getting in that cool little mechanic that then circled back around into leaning more into the hunting and all that jazz. Probably mine.
I think for me, it's probably got to be the flare arrow. Just be, because it's been dark at night for a very long time in the game, and the first time shot one of those flare arrows out and the whole thing lit up. It can be tricky to do that kind of stuff because of performance on a big light, but I think the visuals kind of really set the tone, and it's pretty cool to see.
I think the green really just pops as well, and I think I really loved. I think I really loved about that. And obviously, this is an area that we've looked at is around being able to find your teammates, being able to communicate where people are and understand that.
Yeah.
I remember early on, having that flare and being able to just launch one straight up in the air to get a bit of a read. That was awesome, and it really made it feel like kind of dangerous and risky. It felt like almost one of those old school missions and stuff. It was a cool feature.
We had some great testing moments. We would have certain people leading the charge, and there'd be six or so people following, and they'd be just launching flare arrows, and just running at night. No one stops. If you get left behind, you get left behind, but keep an eye out for the arrows. It was real intense, but really cool.
I think it's such a cool feature, and I think it's stuff like that as well. That's where you get that really fun balance between we could just have things like, oh, there's your teammate on the map, but how much cooler is it to fire them? You've got to see this green orb floating up in the air and go that way, run that way. It's just epic. Another one I guess people are always interested in is the animals we add and whatnot. So kind of a couple of unique animals we put in this time, which was Komodo dragon and Kia. And Kia being a really unique one, seeing as it is obviously a native bird to New Zealand, and it's a very unique one with a very unique kind of personality and characteristics. So I guess what's the cool kind of reasoning behind why we do a lot of stuff, and the animals particularly, I think like the Kia, they are such a unique addition to the game. So what kind of goes through the process when we go around, what animals we're going to add, how we're going to create variety and whatnot?
Go, Sean, go.
Right, I'm just trying not to die in the game.
Heavens.
I guess just speaking to the Kia and the Komodo, there were just some cool the Kia, obviously, we kind of wanted a bird for a while. It has some nice cheeky behavior of maybe stealing some unguarded food items you might have lying around, campfires and
is that
and
where my
containers
food's
and
been
stuff.
going?
Yeah. So maybe try and keep those things under lock and key, Gerard. I guess the ethos has just been around finding that cool spot to add some more flavor and some more of that kind of gameplay tie-in. The Komodo again, nice one in that it's food motivated, as Adam said. So again, keep an eye on your fresh kill if there's any Komodos around, because they'll probably fight you for it. So I guess it's just about looking at those sorts of opportunities and how they kind of play.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, speaking of the Kia, I mean, the first time I jumped to Styx for a playtest, I distinctly remember going off doing some hunting on my way back, and I looked at the base and I go, what the heck is going on? And there were 5 Kia just pillaging everything. And it was one of the coolest things to see from a distance, just going, oh crap, I've got a war on my hands when I get home. It's such a cool idea, and it kind of brings a lot of those survival game characteristics of having to always be aware of your base and who your enemies are. And, for most survival PvP games, it's like, who's the local thief that's going to come by and on your server? And this one, it's literally a bird that looks friendly but is out to steal your dinner. So I think a lot of those elements are really cool. And for people who don't know a lot about the Kia, so obviously it's a native parrot to New Zealand. It's one of I think it's the second or third biggest parrot in the world, the biggest being the kakapo, which is another New Zealand native. And they really are like that in terms of being mischievous, very smart and cunning. They've been known to create tools with rocks and understand physics and other elements for obviously being able to get different types of prey. And if anyone who's really ever been down the Arthur's Pass, New Zealand, will know the Kia will come and steal your windscreen wipers. That's not even a joke. They will come and they will rip them off your car. So they really are cheeky little things. And so I think it's been a cool addition to the game to also bring a little bit of Kiwiana in and a bit of New Zealand to it. So I've loved it. And I guess the other really unique one, crocodile, obviously is quite a cool animal add to the game, but the Komodo dragon, which again is another really unique one, and you spoke a little bit there to its behaviour as well. So, animals like that is not one you would see in every single game. It's not your standard. So, I guess are we really exploring into different kind of creatures, and are we using kind of a how would they behave in real life as a bit of a motivation for what animals we'd like in the game?
I mean, I think a lot of it is gameplay driven. So I think I don't know how early on in the piece, Sean, we thought about the Kia snatching stuff from campfires, but I think that was a gameplay opportunity we kind of thought of. We see issues like campfires are always full of food. Okay, well let's put a Kia in the game and have them steal all the food. So and things like just experimenting with different behaviors. So like the Komodo's different kind of. I mean, we have kind of overarching definitions of territorial or on-site aggressive or just general passive. But as we kind of expand the game mechanics and we find different levers to pull, and we start exploring with what about a hybrid of it's kind of territorial but under certain circumstances, and that just gives players new things to learn and experiment with, and just adds new flavor to the game.
Well, that's awesome. Cool. I've actually just had our next two guests for the day jump in. So that's Matt and Cam. So Adam, Sean, you're more than welcome to hang out, chat, play. If you need to jump in and do something else. Big thank to both of you for coming in and having a chat today.
Hey,
really,
Adam,
really
help me, Adam.
It sounds like J-Rod does need your help though, so I'll let you go and save our fallen friends. But no, big thanks for jumping in, guys. Lots of good stuff there, and obviously we'll do a new Reddit AMA with a bit more detail soon. So I'll get you guys to help write some stuff up. But hey, keep going being amazing.
All right, thank you.
All right, I'll introduce our next couple of guests we've got in. So we have the amazing Cam and Matt from our art team. So both of these guys have been pretty integral to what we've been up to. If you've seen it, that probably has something to do with it. And they've been doing some crazy cool stuff for us. So I thought I'd bring them in and have a chance to talk about, all things visual and creative and art and what we're doing in that space. So I guess first things first, a little bit of intro about yourself and, what you've been up to on Styx and what you do for the team. So Matt, do you want to take us away?
Hello everyone, my name's Matt. I'm a concept artist here at Rocketworks. I've been here day one doing concepts for Olympus, and now we've started looking at Styx. There's a lot of stuff still to come into Styx. Everything from creature designs to the tech to the benches and what you make on the benches, and all the good stuff. Hopefully better stuff to come.
Oh, I love that. All right, and Cam.
Kia ora. My name's Cam, the other concept artist here.
You might be a little soft, Cam.
Oh, sorry.
I
How's
don't know.
that? Mic check.
It's a soft, soothing
About
voice of
the
Cam.
same.
I don't know, Cam.
But keep going. You're still.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just one of the concept artists here. I'm not sure. I didn't do too much on Styx myself, but looking at different types of creatures and just kind of observing from a distance and watch the map come together. A fan of Styx.
And what Cam doesn't tell you is he's the one who, if anyone on the team needs to be able to figure out what that's up to or just organise stuff, Cam should go to guy. So he is, from a marketing side, Cam's been our champion and star along with Matt and getting everything moving. So been really, really fun to work with both these guys. And obviously they've got a lot of the hand in the art and the style and the direction of Icarus. So great chance to go in and ask some art-related questions. So I'll jump into a couple we've got, and obviously people feel free to post some in Twitch and Discord, and we will try and cover as many as we can. Our first one I've got here is, will there be more customization in the future? A lot of people have talked about different art armor sets. We've obviously had a bit of exploration into some of the different styles of the different factions and whatnot. So I guess, what are you guys up to, and what do you think about how much opportunity there is for art to really build out this really kind of colourful, diverse world in that area?
Yeah, I mean that's a question that's not just for art; it's also for design and stuff. not entirely sure what we can say.
Yeah, but even like I guess like what have you guys got some cool ideas for how we can really take the art style of Icarus and build upon it with how we've built out a lot of the world and whatnot? Like, what's I guess from a
Yeah.
concept point, like how what type of vision have you guys got? Have you got some really cool ideas in the bank? What are you thinking?
I mean, we've always got ideas in the bank for
Yeah,
sure.
I love that.
It's just a matter of like, I guess, what comes up and what we've got scoped and what we can put in the patch. But the system we work with and the amount of stuff we can chuck in there, it's
Yeah,
if we find something, it's good being on the art team. The designer's really good with sort of accepting like pitches from us. If we've got an idea that's like,
yeah,
I guess not exactly part of the game that's in plan, but we're like, we really want this. We made this armor, it's cool. And
yeah,
so if we chuck it in.
yeah. I love that.
Yeah. There's one thing we were kind of looking at that would be fun to do in the future is variations of, say, the same leather armor. So you can have your own style, your own blueprints. We've kind of had a brief look at that, and because we've designed many variations of stuff already.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've had like a polish pass and like a round 2 on certain items, so there's always like, art's a never-ending process, so
yeah, for
we
sure.
always have variations.
I guess on the topic of that, what's a certain item or thing you add to the game that you look at and go, man, I'm so stoked with how that looks, how that kind of appears, and what would be if there's any that come to mind to go, yeah, I think that one's like a really awesome piece of work.
For me, because Icarus is quite real life, so there's always a lot of things we can draw on to, like, say, if we made a backpack, you can look at backpacks and stuff like that and say, but for me, the one I enjoyed first was making the oxidizer, just because it never existed, so you had to come up with a way how to make oxygen come out of a big leather sack with bones and
Yeah.
where you attach the oxygen tank to it and stuff like that. So for me, that was like the first thinking outside the box one.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I think everyone's got like a place in their heart for the oxygen dissolver. Just when you get the idea of like dissolving oxygen from rocks and some sort of primitive technology that you just find from dropping on the planet. Those sort of like problem-solving processes, I guess you can call it. Like this thing that comes out of the end, and if you've got a theory of how it works, those are always fun.
Yeah,
I think my personal one, and there's heaps. I think some of all the benches are real fun to sort of work on. I mean, I guess it's the bolt-action rifle,
oh yeah, yeah,
where we kind of started to put together ideas about like, what is tier 2? We've got like a lathe. It's advanced. It's not like it's not the most advanced thing you've ever seen, but it's still a lathe, so you can sort of make like pipe guns and use that sort of technology to design something other than wood.
yeah, I get you.
Designing this sort of pipe gun from planet stuff was very, very fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, awesome. Yeah, and I guess you talked about like obviously the process of doing passes and updating things. How what's I guess the mentality around when we say, okay, we want to change how this looks or make an update here or make an update there, because obviously the team does an incredible amount of work really refining and polishing and making the items just look fantastic before they go in game. I guess for a little bit of like behind the scenes for the art team, like how does that process look? What is the point at which we go, yeah, we're happy with that? Because obviously you guys do an incredible amount of work to really get things, and what players see in game really is just the final product. So I guess a little bit of process around that from start to finish.
Oof. I mean, are we talking?
Yeah,
Yes, we're talking-
because obviously it starts with you guys at the concept level, and and then for items, by the time they get in game, we look at some of the original concept art you guys have done, and the amount of effort and detail, right down to having, I think of the workshop bench and some of the tools that are sitting on it, and obviously the visual and the skin of it, right down to the detailing on those. There's so much effort that goes into making things look just so great and in place. That level of kind of effort and perfection, like how that back and forth and process, what's the time it takes to do things, what really drives you guys to get to that level of perfection each time.
I guess the perfection or the level of polish sort of comes from the effort from the entire team. Like,
Yeah.
concept is, it's an interesting job because you just sort of make an idea, and then you present it to the 3D team, and they're the guys that really make it reality. So we sort of have an idea, throw it to them, and they'll have some ideas and throw it back, or we'll do like a prototype, or we'll have like a small test, and how big is it in the game when you walk up to it? Is it the right height? Is it interesting enough? Then they'll throw it back, and we'll sort of do like a paint over or discuss ideas further, and it just goes on down the pipeline and comes out fantastic.
There are timelines with these weekly updates and stuff like that. So we often promise the 3D team that they'll get to polish stuff later. Because sometimes they're under a lot of pressure to get stuff out for that weekly update. But we do revise stuff and let people come back to it, because they're very passionate about what their model is going to look like in a game, and sometimes we have to say, look, it's got to go in, but we'll revisit that. And
I guess players would have seen a lot of that as well, of items changing over time.
Awesome. And obviously you mentioned as well, like the primitive element and some of the items we've got, and you've got to really balance primitive with the advanced tech, and it goes into that. So you mentioned that that's quite a unique kind of process of having to say, how would this actually look if we were to make a primitive version of it? What's that experience been like of having to balance primitive resources with quite unique tech?
You want to start that one off, Matt?
Yeah, that's been the fun part. You've basically got to put yourself in the place of someone landing on a planet, and what materials you've got and what you would do with it, and whoa.
Backed into a corner.
Yeah, someone's death cry there. Yes. So, am I getting feedback from your mic, Cam?
I'll mute up.
Yeah, let me just check that. Yeah, that's good. So,
What are y'all sharing a desk?
we sit right next to each other.
We're a very friendly team here in office.
And we're sitting really, really close. But we sort of sometimes have the high tech stuff as a baseline, and then we have to keep stripping it back to what the primitive stuff will be like. But we also want people to be able to recognize this is a primitive version of the same sort of family. So there is a design language that we want to carry through, but we also have the design language of the different materials we use and the different craftsmanship, I think is a good word. As you go up in the benches, we have said that players put things together better. There's better welding and stuff like that, rather than, say, the tier 2 bench where it's almost like you're bang stuff together, and it's more about the purpose of the item rather than the how well it looks and how well it functions and stuff like that. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting process when you've come from space and you do land on a planet with absolutely nothing. So sort of, our tech stuff is sort of looking back in the past and looking at what, I don't know, getting your head in the space to think, if you were dropped on a planet with nothing and there's bears, what would you make? How would you start? So often, like, I'll go look at like DIY items, or like how does someone make like a welding kit with the back of a microwave sort of thing. So you can sort of get into these weird pockets of the internet and draw inspiration to get this tech that you'd make sort of out of nothing, bare minimums and stuff.
Yeah, like that Russian inventor guy that we follow.
Yes.
He does crazy projects.
Yeah, I was going to ask around, inspiration for a lot of what we do. Is there any kind of particular places you've drawn inspiration from, or any kind of, either artist or maybe other games, or places you've gone, that's really given me some really cool ideas and some themes and feels that I want to bring to Icarus?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I think for me it's, ArtStation in general, or other survival games also have some great stuff. I think getting inspiration in mechanics and the way things work from other games has always been fun. Valheim was great for that. Playing a bit of V-Rising at the moment. Not exactly the same, but seeing how things are used and the importance of items, I think that was good inspiration. And for the art style, just, I guess for the visual sense of it, quality art from ArtStation, or things from the team that you see and you really really like. And for the theme, it's, I think, the internet.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
great.
I love that.
I've got some old survival books as well. I used to live on a little island for a while, for about 4 years, on solar panels. So I accumulated all these old survival books. And yeah, so I've got some really good old school reference on how people actually survived in the day and the traps they made. So I often
The
go
very
and,
practical stuff.
yeah. So I often go back and pull out some of those and figure out how to, because that's stuff that's worked over time. It's like I've got, from the frontiersmen, how they used to make their furniture and stuff like that. It's good to draw on.
Yeah. No, I like that. I guess another, one that people have talked about. There's been a few cool fun items we've put in, such as like the sign, the sign you can make on the carpentry bench to be able to label and name different parts of the game and whatnot. Are there any kind of cool things that you guys would like to do for like kind of that personalization? I know one area that you guys have spent a lot of time on recently has been wall mounts, and a lot has gone into that. So that level of kind of adding personality to be players' kind of play styles and bases. Have you guys really enjoyed that? What's your thinking behind it? What are you feeling? Has that been an area you've enjoyed kind of building out?
Yeah, it's cool. I think personally, I've spent a lot of time doing sort of like in-hand items and benches and other stuff. But I think, Matt, you actually did quite a lot of the buildables and construction stuff early on, eh? So when I got to do a bit of the decorative stuff, it was nice. It was just, I can imagine putting it in my outpost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, and you mentioned obviously benches there as well as being an area that you worked on. We've got such a huge array of benches. Like, how did you really build out differentiation in them from a visual perspective? And I guess what was going through your head, and how did you want to make each of them feel like they really were different and unique, so there wasn't a repetition in the design?
Yeah, I guess we'd describe it as tiers. I think it's like tiers of technology. So you've got your on-person stuff, like the wood spare being held here. It's very simple. And then when you get to the crafting bench, now you get into woodworking and advanced ways of putting together wood, stone, bone. Machining bench, you get into like metal lathes, welding. There's just like, for every tech tier, there's kind of like a tech intervention that we can draw inspiration from for the items, but also other benches and other buildables in that area. If you figure out how to weld on a planet, it's going to mean you'll be able to build awesome stuff. And for design, it means we get to sort of unleash a bit and try different things. Theorizing what you could weld together is a fun process.
Yeah. And I guess a really unique one I can bring to mind is the herbalism bench, seeing as the majority of them have got their rectangular shape, and then you've got this one that's this circular kind of standalone piece. So what was the reasoning behind that one just being so different? Like, what was the logic?
Well, we want players to be able to have a quick read when they walk into a room and know what each bench is supposed to do, because as you say, there can be quite a few benches in a room at a time. So we do look at shapes, and the herbalism bench to me just felt a bit more almost what's the word, druidy, like you're a bit more shamanistic almost in a way. So I thought, let's make that quite primitive looking, but with a quick read. So with a lot of our benches, we'll have a bit of height to them, and that height you can, like the herbalism bench has herbs hanging off it, and as you say, a distinctive shape. There'll be other ones, the glass blowing bench, we make sure there's a glass blower that can be seen quite quickly. So you don't want to just walk up to the bench and look at the surface to try to figure out what it is. You want that silhouette read. And as you say, the herbalism bench sort of jumps out because it is quite a different requirement to a lot of the other benches. As in you're mixing herbs rather than manufacturing materials that you put together and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, awesome. No, it's really, really good. I guess as well, like you've obviously mentioned the around how we differentiate benches. Another area of the game that's obviously got a lot of variety is weather obviously biomes and whatnot. A really good example being storms. So I guess on the element of like, the atmosphere, the kind of overall color scheme of like the different biomes, like I guess how do we plan those out? How do we kind of say these are the feelings and experiences we want to create? What went into that?
I think, sort of leaning on what Dean says, a lot of games are played, not made.
Yeah.
We sort of started with a whole bunch of biomes together, and we had intentions for what they look like. There was heaps of atmosphere, but as it moved on, we started thinking about we started thinking about, I guess, separating the biomes, like having each one that would have a distinct sort of feel. But when you go into the Arctic, it's a little bit more crispy than, say, the desert, where you can see, you see a bit of haze throughout the entire thing. So we kind of went into them with a proposed experience. Like, can you feel like you're at the top of in the valley of like some sort of very cold alpine peak, and everything feels like super crispy, barren, I guess a bit isolating. I think Styx does a good job of that when you're running across some of the Arctic zones, and it feels like, if you're a solo player, it's just you.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Vast landscape.
Yeah, and I guess that's a good point on the topics of worlds. And obviously, you guys haven't been, I guess, specifically world builders yourselves. You obviously had an understanding of that element as well. That feeling of barren and almost like just unbelievable size is obviously intentional for the fact that you are almost like somewhat alone on this brand new planet. And that feeling of almost the daunting awe that comes with that obviously then translates into a lot of everything else. And we've talked about the primitive elements, and obviously that, I guess the other area is in animals and how we can make animals really feel either fearsome or feel like opportunity and all those other elements. So we've talked in the past around the process that goes into in our making of Icarus videos, around the process that goes into making the different animals, right from concept art through to rigging through to 3D animation. I guess on that phase, the process of getting an animal into game, how, I guess people are interested to know, how long does it take, how much of the team is involved, what goes into it. These guys, I guess, want to speak to some of that process from, how do we bring something like the polar bear and turn it into this apex predator of the planet from the art side?
Yeah, it does take quite a while, because there is a huge pipeline from concept through to modelling to rigging to fur to a big part that doesn't often get mentioned is the audio of these creatures. I think that, to me, when I'm playing the game, is the first sort of scary warning sign. Like if you hear a polar bear, suddenly you're crouching and looking around for the thing. But it does take a long time, and then you've got the AI of the creature to sort out, which I'm not too familiar with it, but I know it can cause all sorts of headaches.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, there is still a concepting phase to making a polar bear look impressive. Obviously, as a concept artist, you just don't want to Google a picture of polar bear and hand that on to someone and say, I've concept arted.
Yeah.
So we try to find all the best elements of a polar bear, mash it up, pick out features that we want. These ones are obviously, I think they're way bigger than a normal polar bear is, which you need in these massive, you don't want somebody to look like a cute little cuddly thing.
Watermelons. I love watermelons.
Bears are not for cuddling though. I said that the other day. I was a streamer on Twitter. I was like, this is more the Revenant than Paddington around here.
That's right.
I guess on the topic of animals like that, this is personally my favourite, so I have to bring it up, and that's our big friendly blender-faced sandworm. It is awesome. So that really, for you guys, would have been the first, I guess, non-Earth-like creature you got the opportunity to put into game. I'd love to hear about that.
That was an awesome process. That was a concept, because it came in for a beta weekend.
Yeah.
And it was quite a rush job to bring it in and get it going for the beta weekend. But we'd been working on sandworms as a concept team. And I think that one can be called a collaboration. that sandworm. I'd done the base of it, but then there was back and forth with Cam and George and Minnie, and together we put together quite a cool concept. There were limitations with it when it went into the game. We had the idea that the face would actually close up into a almost perfect seal, so it could go through the sands. But for the launch, we had to have it sort of scrunched up face. But it still looks cool when it opens up, and then it's got little secondary movements, which was Cam's suggestion to bring in, with little smaller teeth that come out and wiggle around. And so yeah, the sandworm raw is very cool. But then we also had Marcus, our creature designer, build that, and we had our animation team put in all these attack animations, and this was done over a week, I think. So I thought it was an amazing process to get it done. And yeah, we had special effects guys bringing in the sand and the spit and everything, and then of course the AI, and yeah, that was a really cool experience to suddenly pull together about 5 different teams to get it done, and lots of back and forths and flexibility, and it was cool.
Yeah, that moment when you see it in game for the first time was quite cool with that guy. It was so different to everything else we had, and it was that first touch, sort of alien, and then scale was awesome. When you see that thing charge up and you look at it, you're like, okay, cool. Good job.
Yeah. R.I.P.
I totally was. Sorry, I was totally following so many streamers waiting for that moment, because they all were like, I bet there's going to be a cougar here. Oh, we're going to have a cougar boss or something. And then to have that pop up during the beta test was awesome.
Oh man, the first time it popped up on me scared me.
Yeah. It still scares me. And I mean, I've seen that thing like 20 times now, and I'm still terrified. Like, it's probably one of the coolest things. And I think the way it looks as well, the fact that it has somewhat Earth-like characteristics, but is so alien at the same time, it almost makes it feel more terrifying, because you can almost understand it, but you don't know what it is.
Yeah, and there's quite a backstory on that too. There's Sean's been working hard to develop you've got your cave worms that are basically the larva spawn of these things, and I ran into the adolescent cave worms yesterday in a Styx mission that I was doing, and they destroyed me. They're massive. They're in the cave. I don't know if you guys have seen them, but I broke into a cave and was wandering through, and they're all different colours, and they all have different things they do. So I didn't even know that was happening. And I still had to get my body from that.
I guess that kind of goes on to another cool area of the map that's been quite unique to Icarus, which is caves. And they've been obviously incredibly popular, and I think the fact that all of them are so unique and diverse and whatnot, but also the way they've been designed to almost have even the audio, the layout, the lighting, the colours, everything that goes into that to make them feel truly like a cave versus just necessarily a hole in the rock. I guess that kind of speaks back to that kind of experience thing and play not made. Was there any kind of process that went into really making caves feel like caves versus just feeling like another area of the map?
A hard one. That could be a question for the world builders as well, I think. I think we went into caves. No, we wanted like a pretty dark, dank cave that could sort of facilitate some pretty good jump scares and some hectic moments.
Yeah.
I can't remember what cave it was, but it was on Olympus. I remember before you had the light slot on your hip, running into a cave straight away from a animal. I think it was a polar bear, and just falling off a cliff. That stuff's perfect because, like, it's a cave will look like a cave, I guess, but the experience you give with like height and what else is in there is a big part of it.
I think even like some of them being underwater, you've got a lot of them with water in caves, ice caves. The variety on them is just so diverse.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I'd love to work more with caves. I think they're really cool.
Yeah.
There's some crazy ones in Icarus and Styx as well, behind waterfalls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Some massive ones that I've just started coming across.
Yeah, there's so much opportunity to discover them as well, and I think the fact that we've started really developing variety of them is awesome. And I know a lot of people, like, there's obviously places that have, you can obviously go and find them if you don't necessarily want to search yourself, if that's not your play style. But for players like myself who are more like, we want to accidentally stumble across things, like, it's awesome to accidentally find a cave behind a waterfall. Like, that level of experience is just amazing. So
it instantly feels like you're treasure hunting, eh?
It does, and I think that's really, really cool. And I've enjoyed that experience of, like, and I think that kind of goes for a lot of the different things in game. There's been a lot of things that have just kind of blown me away with how they look and how they've come out, which has been a lot of fun and whatnot. So yeah. I guess honestly, the last thing I'd like to ask both of you guys would be, what I guess are you most excited about with Styx personally in terms of, what you're going to do with it? Like, is there an item you've already done? Like, is it the Kia? What's something you've done you've loved, or as an overall expansion, what's been the coolest part of this for you? What are you most looking forward to? What have you most enjoyed doing?
Yeah, we've got some stuff coming, so I won't.
Don't give away secrets, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, there's some really cool, almost lore coming in with things, and a lot of it's still got to be AOK'd and worked through with design, but it's going to be like Olympus as far as a evolving map, and I had done a few concepts as part of the pitch art, and we ended up with a picture of the Kia flying over Styx, but we had some other concept art, and I had to keep putting that to the side because we hadn't put the thing in that we wanted to show off.
Yeah, I was actually just going to mention that there. That even watching, Matt and Cam have been all the concept art you guys have seen in imagery or in posts, all the weekly updates, all the concept art we've had for those, the hero images and whatnot. That's been these guys, and it's been just awesome to work with them on that. Like, some of the stuff they've made is incredible. Every week, we'll give them the most simple brief, and they'll just go away and make a piece of art that's just phenomenal. So, if you ever see some cool art in there that you like, we do put a lot of the stuff that we make in the press kit. So if people would like them as wallpapers or would like to have them, print them out themselves, a lot of that stuff is in there. But make sure you go check these guys out as well, and thank them for their work or have a look at what they've got. Are you guys on ArtStation yourselves?
I linked their art stations at the start in the Twitch chat.
Brilliant. There you go. So,
I was just panicking and going back to see whether anything in them was leaking. It's coming up, but I think we're in the clear.
Well, there you go. So make sure you go follow the art stations and see the other stuff they get up to. Obviously, not just stuff on Icarus, but other projects, because it's pretty awesome stuff, guys. And it's been a lot of fun working on that stuff with you guys, and the content art's just been incredible. So, it's awesome to hear about the Kia as well. And I mean, that image we had for the hero art for Styx is just awesome. It makes Kias look like just incredible, which they are, but you made them look even more incredible, which is hard to do.
I don't feel bad for shooting them, right?
Yeah, Kiwis, all us Kiwis are going to feel a little bit guilty because they're protected here, but there's too many of them on Icarus, they're not protected.
You can attach them to your hip too, and they're massive. Looks like you got wings. It's pretty cool.
Wasn't me and you, Cam, joking the other day about the fact that Doc is going to come and find you?
He woke up.
It's undersized.
Yes, if you start hunting Kias, we'll send Doc after you to hunt you, particularly if you've picked up too many. So be careful out there, prospectors. I guess, Cam, I'll go back onto you. What would be, what have you really enjoyed about Styx, or what are you looking forward to? Is there anything in particular, or are you just overall just really excited for this new kind of expansion?
Oh, he sees me now. Is this where I die?
Yes, it's where you die, Jared.
Looking forward to watching J-Rod get slaughtered in Styx. That's my highlight.
Oh!
Yeah, that was fast.
Nice.
Yeah.
Was that your favourite, Cam?
That was my favorite.
There you
I haven't
go.
actually seen all the Styx
I don't
yet,
think
so
I'm
What's he
prepared
doing
for
to you?
this.
He is.
You're getting teabagged.
I think he's burying you in snow. Isn't that what they do when they, defecate?
I thought he was flossing.
The line dancing was going on there.
You just got danced on by Polaris. Awesome. Now, honestly, guys, thank you both for jumping in. You're welcome to obviously hang out. I'm going to jump in and play, but I'm going to jump into a quick chat with Dylan and have a chat about a few things as well. But
Am I done? I have no respawns.
Everyone,
Is this hard?
RIP some chat for J-Rod.
Hard mode, so that there would be a quick end.
Well, that might be the Q&A over.
We just stare at J-Rod's body for an hour.
We go as long as J-Rod can live.
I'm gonna make a coffee. I'll be right back.
I guess.
All right, cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Liam.
Thanks, Liam.
No, welcome. Dylan, I've got you here for a little bit. So we're just going to cover a couple of little things, but majority of stuff we'll obviously do in a more big red AMA. But I guess first and foremost, you've been pretty an integral part of the community as well, being someone that's gone back and forth. One question I wanted to ask you was just around the experimental branch and what we've done with that and getting that involved, and what your experience has been like developing, I guess, that kind of community team and how much it's meant to us. So just to kind of obviously, talk a little bit about what you're doing there, would you want to kind of cover off what that's meant for us?
I think Sean and Adam briefly touched on it. The community engagement side is something that I think a lot of devs really enjoy about game development, and it's something that we enjoyed on Stationeers for years, just being able to let people make the call for themselves whether they wanted to trade off on stability and stuff to play the newest content, so that they could, give feedback when stuff's new and test it out like that. With the weekly patch cadence that we've been doing, it means that you end up putting a lot of pressure on testing and stuff to sort of test the full scope of the stuff going in. So that's where like having that same thing in the community is just really, really useful to everyone. But because some of that content doesn't make it until fairly close to patch day, it's not always possible to have sort of a scheduled thing where we have yet another deadline introduced in the week to have everything on like a Tuesday so that it can go live on experimental. So we kind of treat it fairly ad hoc at this stage and look at the state of the build each day, and if we feel like most of the content's in for the week, it's just waiting on the sort of things that come in later, like voice lines or descriptions of items, stuff like that. We'll get things up on experimental so people can play it, and then wait for all the feedback that comes in, and then that can just be a nice way. But with the time zone difference, we can sort of get that up in the evening here, and then by the time people turn up at work in the morning, we've got some nice bugs to work through.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that kind of also speaks to having that update on Friday night New Zealand time and working towards that. It's been a cool process for me to work on with you guys as well, as getting that already, getting patch notes, doing the write-ups, getting it all involved. I'd be keen to know what's been your favourite weekly update. What's the one for you that you go, yeah, I loved that one. That was like my favourite. Do you have one in mind? Do you have a couple?
Man. Without going and scrolling through the list, which was my first instinct, I've really liked the ones we've finally been able to address, like some of those massive, like the highest voted feature upvote things. Like when we introduced the belt slot and stuff like that. It doesn't seem like much, but because when I see something that sits at the top of feature upvote for weeks on end, like that weighs on you as a dev. You're kind of like, man, I really want to solve that thing, and things take time to fix and address. So it's nice to kind of release the pressure valve a bit when you finally get to stroll out in front of everyone and say, hey, that thing all of you have been jumping up and down and wanting, we did it. We did it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And there's been some cool ones on that. Like, personally for me, it has to be the sandworm just because of how epic it was. But I remember, obviously, a big one for us was the in-game timer change. And that was a really, obviously, a lot of back and forth and process put into that. What would be, I guess, how have you felt like that's been received? Have you been happy with how that's gone? Are you overall like, yeah, I'm pretty stoked that like we managed to make some good changes along those weeks that have really contributed to the health of the game?
One thing that I often find us telling the team is that often the community will present you a solution. They'll say, you need to just do this thing because that will solve these problems we've got. But often, because they don't always have the full context and the full story and why some constraints are where they are and stuff, you kind of need to take a step back and say, well, what's the problem that they're really wanting to address? And I think that one was just one where we found it wasn't probably the solution we wanted. It wasn't necessarily the solution the community wanted, but it was a nice middle ground where it was technically achievable. It was going to cause the minimal disruption, and it's just nice to sometimes see those things come out of the woodwork where there's just a convenient fix.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I guess obviously, Styx has been a huge undertaking for the team. A lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of hours, a lot of love's gone into this. Us able to get this launch out, to have all the success and whatnot. What's been that journey like for you to have, I guess, first kind of large scale I guess we call it map and mission pack, but not an expansion, but our first large scale update like this. Like, how's that experience been for you while also maintaining a live service game?
This one was, because it was so largely based around the map, like our sort of week to week content updates don't have a lot of there's not a lot of work for the world building team specifically to do in those, except for those occasional fixes, remove a bush from a rock, or lower a tree that's hovering 7 meters above the ground. But they've done a great job working through that time, getting an entirely new map done. Especially as a fairly new team, they've managed to pull that together, and then all the rest of the stuff just kind of came nicely around it. The designers really had to pull out all the stops to get all those new missions in, but we've been doing them for the weekly content updates, so we kind of knew what that process was like. Everything's always going to be a sort of push and pull between trying to develop the long form content as well as sort of maintain that weekly update cadence that we've been doing.
No, I love it. Yeah, I guess, we talk a lot about, like, where Icarus is going, what we're getting up to and whatnot, and how we're bringing it forward. And a lot of what has, moved that forward, we talked to Adam and Short about this, has been balancing, obviously, our vision for the game with the community's kind of feedback and getting that kind of in real-time response and whatnot. How have you found that process of not only working with the plan of what we wanted to achieve, and obviously the feedback from internal QA testers as before launch, to now shifting to having this almost live service game with a live service community testing it for us? Like, what's that change been like for you, and how has it helped you and the game move forward?
It doesn't necessarily scale in the same way that, like, working on Stationeers was great because it was a nice tight-knit community. It certainly wasn't the size of the Icarus one, so it's just been a case of you have to delve a bit deeper to find the diamonds, to find the great little pieces of feedback, because you just don't have time to look at everything. So it's been a lot harder to sort of, and that's where we rely on tools like that feature upvote page and stuff like that. We sort of rely on the community to sort of help us do that filtering. Let the most significant issues bubble to the top, and again, not necessarily let us just jump in and address them straight away, but in our normal process of looking for achievable things that will make people happy, we can, it's best for us to know what's affecting the most people and sort of impacting their joy of the game.
Cool. I guess a lot of the questions that obviously I cover off with you are a bit more in depth and detailed, so I'll save most of them for a Reddit AMA. As Dean is mentioning now in the Discord channel, we'll do a more written out one where we'll cover a lot of these topics with you and go through a lot more of the detailed stuff. But I will kind of finish up with one last kind of like fun question, which someone had sent in, which is, what is one thing about the game, so it could be art, could be a model, could be audio, could be a mechanic or whatever, that you actually think is really awesome, but you feel the community might not be aware of or might be overlooking a little bit by accident? Is there something that you've kind of gone, I want to see that players do that more, use that more?
I probably sound like a broken record at this point when talking at least internally to the team, but I think audio is just so often an overlooked thing in games. It's like if they're doing their job perfectly, you just don't notice them. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just everything sounds the way it should and it's never jarring. And I just think, like, sitting in a house in a storm that's made out of a couple of different building materials and you're just hearing everything sound the way it should, and you're just like, that is amazing. So I do see, I already see lots of praise for the audio team, at least internally, but I know that a lot of people playing the game probably don't even think twice about it. But they should.
It feels intrinsic to the experience, but I know I've seen how hard that team works, the effort they put in, the detail, some of the creative ways they've been able to create the sounds they're after. It is actually pretty amazing. And one thing today we didn't get a chance was to get Andy on to have a chat. He was a bit busy, but I do plan at some point on getting a chance to have a chat with him about the audio for the game, so that the community can hear a bit about what goes into it. But yeah, I'd agree with you. The audio is such an integral part of it. And I sometimes would, when I'm playing the game, I'll sometimes mute everything just to kind of see what it's like. And it's crazy how much different the experience is. I might do it because I'm on a call or something, but having the music, the sound effects, everything that goes into that, and makes it incredible. I mean, you're hearing the thunder boom in a storm.
I was gonna. Oh no, not the thunder. The thing I was thinking of was the crack of a dropship coming into the atmosphere.
Oh
It's like,
yeah. That sound, like the level of like effort that goes into all of that, but then also just the result, it's amazing. And so, I mean, the team even makes all the music for our trailers and things we release. So they really are so unbelievably talented. And I'd agree with you. It's an easy one to overlook, not because people aren't appreciating it, because they're not aware of how much it does for the experience. Cool. We will wrap that one up there today. However, as Dean's been mentioning, we'll look to do a proper Reddit written AMA at some point soon, which will get a chance to cover off a few more of the kind of the in-depth, more questions with a little bit more detail behind them, so we can actually type up answers for you guys that you guys can have a look through and read on. So I would also, say everyone go and have a look at the update blog we released for Styx on Friday. That has in it a really good section Dean's written up on answering a lot of those kind of core questions we've been hearing for weeks, at least from his from the game runner perspective and what's coming. We'll obviously cover them off again with him and some of the other team in the AMA, but have a look through that. There's some really good answers in there. Obviously this stream as well will upload to YouTube later, so people are welcome to rewatch. But honestly, I'd like to thank you all for coming out, all for playing Styx, all for getting involved. It's been awesome to see. We've been really stoked with the feedback, and we're really excited for what we're going forward with here. So, big thanks to everyone for coming out to the stream today. Big thanks to all our guests and Dylan, who's just jumped on here at the end to help us wrap up, and to J-Rod and Dean for jumping in and playing and providing our visual entertainment. We will tell you when the next chance we have to jump a stream up will be, but apart from that, get in there, play Styx, keep asking your feedback. We'll keep working our little butts off to make it awesome for you.
And a big thanks to Liam for talking for the last 2 hours.
Yes, I'm going to get a very tasty coffee and I'm going to enjoy it immensely. But I've loved it. It's always a lot of fun talking to you guys, so awesome. Cheers, team. We will see you
everybody.
again soon.
Bye.
Bye.